Hi, some of you know me as Caleb Aaron. Some of you are subscribed to me. Maybe some of you are seeing me for the first time. Again, I always like to start with a little bit of a disclaimer. And that disclaimer is this. This is a story. I'm telling a story based on the arrangement of the planets right now. There's this system that's been around for a long time, and it's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's great. I I want to share a story with you. If it resonates, great. If it doesn't, that's okay. We have a bright light, an illuminating force that warms and powers life. It's a very self-centered, almost singular in its commitment to just being and emitting, and that is the sun. And that sun is in Pisces. So there's a sense of mystical connectedness to everything that you encounter. Not really having a strong way of separating yourself from the fish all around you. When one of them moves, so do you. That's where the luminary is. What is the sun like in Pisces? Well, to be completely frank, I know a little bit about this because I have the sun in Pisces, though on the other side of the sign, this is at 1 degree. Let me flip this around. So this sun is at, I was like, what is that? 1 degree, and the moon is also at 1 degree. That's how we know it's a new moon. But to begin, this sun in Pisces is ruled over by Jupiter, and it is in Aries. So this is where we go to next, and Aries is ruled over by Mars in Gemini, which is ruled over Mercury in Aquarius, which is ruled over Saturn in Aquarius. So there's a lot. It goes from here to here to here to there to there. And that's where it stops, in my mind. That's kind of how I work as an astrologer. Everybody has their own system, but when I look at all these things, I sort of follow the chain of command. It's like I try to get to the bottom of the issue. And this, we go from Pisces to Aries to Gemini to Aquarius. So there's a lot that I could say. You know, you could go on really endlessly. In fact, it seems like the universe has a lot of inertia leaning in that endless direction. So, how does the Pisces sun and the moon, which are at the same point, which means at night, a totally dark sky, no moon, what kind of a time is this? What is it saying? Well, the moon represents the closest, most normal thing. So that may include some of your ideas. It may include your physical body, your emotions. It's the feminine and the masculine, and they unite. And when they unite, you can't see the feminine, which I think is an interesting thing. The sun you can always see. It's always going to be there. So the feminine is the receptive, the part that becomes invisible at a time. It's still there. Of course it's still there, but it's completely mysterious. So in Pisces, we've got this very new cycle to potentially go through. And the tone of it, in my mind, must be attuned to the environment around. It must be open. It must be porous. It must be inclusive of the things around it because it knows that it's integrally linked to it, like a fish, like something swimming in the sea. There's no, like, each fish is wonderful in its own marvelous complexity, but in a school of fish, you see this. Have you ever seen a school of fish? It's worth seeing. I've been privileged to see one in person as well as on a video, and both are so splendid. And yes, so this new moon period, this sun period, this new cycle is, in my mind, directed towards really attuning with what's going on immediately around you in this present moment. The emotions, the feelings, the physical matter, all of it. Really being with it, feeling united and connected with it, because by my estimation, there's no way that you couldn't be. The quote from one of my favorite teachers, who's a bit witchy and controversial, I'll give her that label as a warning because, again, some of the stuff she says is a bit interesting. But I do love her, and I think her work has profoundly assisted me. But she says that your entire life is made up of relationships. That's all that it is relationships. And I think that's a very Piscean kind of an energy. So, that energy, this new cycle to begin, your feminine and masculine coming together around something that's connected to your real experience all around you, ruled over by Jupiter in Aries. Well, now we've left the sort of collective and we realized, well, but I'm also just one person with one interior experience. We all have an interior experience that no one else can access. You can write poems, and I can choose to believe you, but do I really know that you said that? There's this individuality, this pioneering, I'm gonna move forward, that I think starts to come forward with Aries. So Pisces is sort of the bottom, the feet, the maybe the base of the experience, whereas Aries is the head. So in some ways, you know, in this circle, we go from feet back to head. And what is that connection? How does that happen? It's not like a circle. It's like a new start. It's like a new start. It's the circle motif and the body is kind of confusing. It's I guess you could touch your feet to your head, like then you're sort of like creating the circle, you know what I mean? So it's, I guess there's a way to do it, but you know, when we think of humans, we think, oh my God, when we think of humans, we think of, you know, them standing upright and keeping the spine erect and breathing in. So this new moon time ruled over by Jupiter, because Jupiter is said to rule Pisces, the guru, the teacher energy, but in this individualistic pioneer, kind of doing its own thing, kind of like Luke Skywalker vibes. Like, well, I guess I'm gonna go take on the Empire. You know, he is just one Jedi. He does have some magical assistance, but don't we all? So Jupiter and Aries is the next step. I can show you the visual while I say this, so that way it's a little less boring. Not that I think I'm boring, but that's ruled over by this. And now next, we've got Mars in Gemini ruling over Aries. And it's going direct, which is good. It's right in the center. So it's just like the very center of Gemini, of communication, of sharing ideas, of doing stuff with your hands, of jack of all trades, master of hopefully some, maybe not all, but I don't know. I have Mars in Gemini as well. So far there's some big signifiers in my chart that I'm personally, you know, pulling from. But this is deep in the heart of Gemini, deep in the center, exactly in the center of this tropical. So it's like you need to be talking and sharing ideas and connecting with others. That's just what we're supposed to do. Mercury is ruled over by Mercury in Aquarius, also very near the center, not as near the center, but certainly. So the Aquarius energy in my mind is scientific and focused on traditional ways of doing things. And once it sort of establishes that this is the way it should be done, there's like a real strong rigidity that could be associated with it. Rigidity of mind, like this is the right mind, this is the wrong mind. This is how this is done, this is not. Like, these are the rules, like there's this sort of almost scientific thing. And one of the things I noticed about Aquarius is it's it's a bit detached, kind of eagle-like, like above it all. Sometimes that can feel pretty disconnected from the emotion or the like the passion. It's just, this is what we do. This is how it's done. This is what I've learned. This is what makes sense to me. This is what the experts say. You know, there's a lot of that. It's very human, it's very communicative, and it is a little bit fixed and rigid and um mentally kind of fixed. So it's ruled over by Saturn, which is indeed in Aquarius as well. So, and this is where the buck stops. This is where the buck has been stopping a lot lately. And it's actually pretty close to this Sun and New Moon conjunction. So there's this restrictive mental force that's definitely very close to this new moon, which is what inspires this point. This new cycle is what's inspiring this discussion. So the rigid, cold boundary keeper is in charge, and it's so close. The sun, this is the problem with this cycle, I would say, is even though Saturn is in charge and is home, so that's very good, it's only a few degrees away from the sun. And the sun has this nasty, if you will, habit, but also so essential to the continuation of an experience and life, to just emote. So whenever I encounter a detail like this, which is called under the beams, as an astrologer, the story that I like to share is one of caution, because that bright impulse to just be can manifest in many ways. This particular manifestation could be linked to some very rigid themes, like death, like gravity. Saturn is an established thing. This is a masculine Saturn because it's in Aquarius, so there's a generosity component to it. Aquarius is typically, it's very rigid and fixed, but it's doing things which it believes, and oftentimes that isn't just self-involved. It is usually connected to some sort of communal kind of thing. I really do, I do think that, not just because it's next to Pisces, which is, you know, I don't think what I'm saying right there is the most easy to follow, but this rigid, cold, boundary kind of a planet is being obstructed by this impulse, this bright light. And I'm going to say that sometimes it might be very difficult to know where your boundaries are, and there's a chance it's because you might be a little bit self-obsessed or focused. And it's reminding me of this conversation I had with an individual who wants to have this big castle one day. And I was like, why? Why do you need a castle? You're one small monkey creature. What would that, why do you need that? And he's like, well, because I can. And I'm like, yes, but what about the environmental impacts of that? And who would live with you? And like sometimes I think when a planet is under the beams, it can be hard to find. And since this is a rigid boundary kind of planet, and it's in this sort of collective sign, I think that the boundaries that we should have um, need to be investigated sometimes, and it can be hard when you're not, well, when you're not, I don't want to present this idea to you as if I know what's going on in your life or what's what's your current internal experience, because I don't, but as someone with my own internal experience, and I encounter this rather gnarly kind of a thing, um, where the main being, the main energy that has the most to say, while in a good space, might just not be able to find itself. It might not be able to remember what's important, what's necessary, because there's this impulse, um, that is very strong. So right now, I know that I have this life force, and I'm trying to look inside myself and go, okay, Caleb, what should I do? In my chart specifically, this is my house of health. It's my house of even like small pets. It's my house of routines related to work, um, manager kind of energy. Um, so there's a sense that for me, my own my own relationships and the people that I'm partnered with need to take on a new, more practical, health focused, work related kind of a thing. But it suggests it might not be the most easy. I might be getting in my own way. Um, so when I ponder this, one of the things that is coming up so clearly is that my exercise, body maintenance, could definitely improve. I think I'm doing a pretty good job, but particularly when it comes to like stretching and muscle building, just not even a lot of muscle building, but just some, or yeah, like trying to find good balance and good structure whenever I may be impulsive and not the most aware of how my energy might be dispersing. It might be going a lot of different directions all at once, and that's beautiful. And I love Pisces energy, but it could be kind of confusing. So, again, everyone's chart's different. If you want to work with me to kind of come up with some stories and try to really, I want them to be helpful to your real life. I don't want them to be completely. I care about you, and I care about myself, and I care about this experience. And there's some people that would like to improve, and might not know how. And while I can't guarantee, I know how. I'm proud of my behaviors, and some of the states that I've reached seem to be very helpful. So, yeah. But back to the chart. I think we've kind of talked around this. It's difficult because it's not so clear to see sometimes how we can be emitting so much to so many people that we might forget where our real boundaries are. And your boundaries may not be as noticeable in the health work sector. Maybe they're more, maybe your chart would suggest it in another place of the chart. That, it's, again, just to be totally honest, I don't want to encourage someone to be fatalistic about astrology and to only book if inspired to have a conversation with someone else who's a storyteller. And again, if you don't have money, you can go live and do it for free, because that kind of promotes me. And we could do it privately if you want to pay for that, because I feel like you should be able to open up. But again, if you don't have money and you aren't brave enough to go public for some reason, or you're worried about repercussions, then just send me a message and maybe we can do a donation-based thing. I'm okay with that. I'm gonna prioritize, paying my own bills and rent, because I'm not sure I'm ready to just fully go onto like the beggar kind of path. And I'm not sure I need to. I don't feel like I have to one way or the other. I'm kind of just trying to go in the direction of what feels right. Thinking about my Aquarius friends, thinking about what feels good and what doesn't, and yeah, it's a discovery. So, okay, what else do we want to discuss? What else? What other archetypes should I get at? So, we started with the new moon, the sun moon conjunction in Pisces. That was rolled over by this. Chiron's there, pretty close. There's a wounded healer kind of an aspect. When it comes to your individual energy, that's in my mind. This Chiron is like right on my Mercury natal placement. So there's this, like when it comes to thinking and communicating, there's a great capacity to help others do that because I struggle with it so much. Yeah, that feels kind of true. So then that's rolled over by Mars and Gemini, which we discussed. Rolled over by Mercury, rolled over by Aquarius. So we've kind of, there's a lot of the personal planets have been connected with. The ones that haven't, the only one that hasn't actually is Venus, and Venus is in Pisces at the very end of Pisces. So there's a little bit of love, and a little bit of like connective, sexy, beautiful energy at the very last bit. There's some beauty and there's some pleasure and there's some connection that wants to be had by some. And Neptune is next to it. Neptune and Venus are near each other. Neptune dissolves and sort of it's the, well, because Pluto's not really considered a planet anymore. It's the planet in our solar system that's the furthest from, and it's a newer one. So I do feel like the significations need to be new, and even like in this is kind of an aside, but Pluto sometimes is closer to the Earth than Neptune is. Like Neptune's orbit sometimes goes even farther away than Pluto. Like there's, again, I haven't seen it with my own eyes. It's too far away to see with the telescope. When you look at the orbital patterns, there's a point where Neptune like comes inside. So it's pretty far away, and it's to me this is like a very spiritual, transcendent kind of I'm gonna say my Neptune motifs include things which, again, they do it a disservice because it's so mysterious and so vast, this universe, this life. But you've got a couple options. You can either escape from or show up for, as a humanitarian, the world in some ways is what wants to come forward. You can either there's a film, not a film, an audiobook called John Livingston Seagull that great astrologers have referenced in reference to Neptune, and there's something so beautiful and so transcendent and so mystical and so profound. Also another one, is it the Little Prince? The Little Prince. I hate that I'm not familiar with the author's names in some ways, but The Little Prince, John Livingston Seagull were referenced by an astrologer. I think this was from one of the podcasts that Chris Brennan does. But he was interviewing someone who her vibe was just so delicious and transpersonal. Like, how would I describe this Venus Neptune? I mean, Venus in Pisces is super, super cute. It's love, big love. It's big, big love. And it's being, the way that I'm going to describe it is right now, when I go to the schools and sub, And I'm looking into all these young people's eyes, and some of them cry, and some of them throw things, and some of them curse each other out. But I want them to know that I care about them, and I want them to succeed. And there's a loving thing there. And they, it's a lot of work. There's lessons, but there's something so innocent and so, yeah. I'm not saying it's like the easiest, most singular like love. It's not like the love of like Romeo and Juliet, so on the nose, on the archetype. Venus is more like that, I think, but since Neptune's there, it's just like, yes, now apply that to everything in the universe. Just before Neptune is Uranus. Uranus is still in Taurus. Again, these move very slowly. It's at 15 degrees, and it's squaring Mercury. Mercury is getting hit by Mars. So a lot of chattiness, a lot of connection, a lot of ideas and messages. It's being boosted by Jupiter. Not as strongly as it's being hit by Mars. So this, a little bit of Jupiter, a little bit of fire, a lot of air, and a little tethering, I guess. When I think about Earth, I think of like anchoring a bit. But the anchor is this sudden, revolting, transforming force. So anything, Uranus being like, I mean, y'all, like the earthquake in Turkey, seeing the images of people crushed. Like, if the stable Earth is Taurus, fixed Earth is being suddenly shaken up, that's earthquake vibe to me. And again, Uranus in any of the Earth sign could be that. And earthquakes happen all the time, but it's like there's a shakeup in like the comfort home thing. Let's see, the last one, Pluto. Again, not exactly a planet. So in some ways that myth is starting to evolve in my mind, because since it's newer, I feel a little more liberty to kind of say what I want about it. It's on its way out of Capricorn. But again, it's not really a planet. So what is it? It's even beyond universality. It's I don't know. It's almost like, what's beyond the universe? Other universes? It is and it isn't. It's a light form wave, or it's a particle. It's something so deeply. In some ways, it's yeah. I don't know how to talk about Pluto. And it's in Capricorn. This true, the deepest, the most distant. Is it even there? That kind of an energy. Is that really something we should consider? Can we, like, hmm. What are the crows saying to each other? Capricorn is the sign of doing what has been proven, achievement. You climb the mountain, you climb the next one. It's the goat. Goats have 360-degree vision almost. Like, it's truly remarkable. Their eyes are little slits. It's like, whoa. I don't know what to say about this one. In some ways, and Pluto, I think, will go back into Aquarius. It'll go into Aquarius and then it'll retrograde back to Capricorn, I think. I don't think we're forever done with it. But there's this sense about creativity and pleasure in my chart. Like, I've kind of really gone about as far as I can go in that. Like, there's a like joy, chasing joy. I've like almost reached the end of that. That part, that facet of this experience. And in my mind, so in my chart, there is let me show you. Let me show you what I'm saying about my chart. I can look at your chart and see. But so when I was born, Pluto was in Scorpio. So now it's moved over here into Capricorn. It's near the very end, and it's in the, well, and this is, in whole sign, this is my 5th house of pleasure. In this Campanus, which I think is the system that I like, one of my favorite astrologers uses it, so I just sort of copy him. Again, it's all just for inspiration. So maybe it's not, maybe I'm just now getting into it, but certainly the joy that is Capricorn for me, kind of near the North Node, this dragon, like, trying to go all the way for the most pleasure, the most joy, the most success, the most, like, mastery, the most lasting mastery. It's about to scooch into Aquarius. So the flavor of it might become less, in my pursuit of joy, it may become less feminine, less receiving, and more like demonstrating or offering forth the joy. So it's like there may be new depths, and I'm curious. I would like a new beginning. I would like a new beginning. I'm trying to figure out how to honor personal inspiration and like helping other people and helping myself, and getting into the bottom of something. It's still in the house of joy. It's still in the 5th house by some standards, but a sign shift, some sort of deep, it would be like, man, I'm really not sure how to talk about this one. Life is a big thing. Remember light, love, and the snake's bite. I think we're finished. Peace out.